If you think it's impossible to build muscle after 60 or 50 or even 40, or injuries mean you have to abandon your fitness goals, think again. My client Beth has not only embraced a lean bulk at 68 years old, but is succeeding despite a complex shoulder injury. In today's conversation, you'll discover how she's adapted her training around medical limitations, why prioritizing muscle growth before fat loss has been a game changer for her results, and the exact strategies that are working when other approaches failed. If you are dealing with age-related concerns, recovering from injury, or tired of yo-yo dieting, Beth's approach proves it's never too late to transform your physique with the right strategy. Welcome to Wits and Weights, the show that helps you build a strong, healthy physique using evidence, engineering, and efficiency. I'm your host, Philip Pate, and I've got something special for you today because I'm sitting down with Beth, a member of our Physique University community who is challenging conventional wisdom about fitness after 60. At 68 years old, she is navigating a significant shoulder injury while purposefully building muscle mass, and that is a strategy that contradicts much of what she'd been told throughout her life, and many of you have probably heard. Today, we're going to talk about how she's adapting her training around those limitations, the mindset shifts that have been critical to her progress, and the specific techniques that are allowing her to gain muscle despite challenges that might have sidelined others. We'll also get into some real-time coaching to optimize her approach going forward and give you some takeaways to apply regardless of your age or your limitations. Beth, I'm very excited that we can do this together, so thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Excited to do it.
Yeah, no, it's great. I'm excited for the listeners to learn about how you've done this because there are definitely a lot of naysayers and there's a lot of frustration out there. And you've experienced some of that, right? You've spent most of your life trying different diets, weight loss approaches. And now at the young age of 68, you are focused on building muscle and not just necessarily cutting calories. What made you decide to pursue muscle building at this stage instead of focusing on what you did before or on weight loss or anything else?
Muscle building is actually not totally new to me. I actually used to lift weights in my 20s. I've always been very active, but then I switched, I suppose, like a lot of people, and did more cardio. And I say I've always been active. It has changed and evolved over different times. I've been a runner. I did some triathlons in my 30s. I've do a lot of bike riding right now, and I'm planning for a bike riding vacation, and that's part of my decision making in trying to put on some muscle and to do a building phase versus dieting. But also did P90X about 10 or 15 years ago when that was craze.
I remember that. That was so much fun.
I've done a lot of different things, but and I've been listening to Philip on the podcast for the last year. I love learning. I like your approach to science and to just following the hard details of what's going on and trying to figure out what's going on versus just, cut calories.
Yeah.
So very interested in following all that. So decided to join, but I, of course, was wanting to lose some fat. I had previously was about 10 or 15 pounds lighter, and I've had some changes in thyroid medications and some different things, and the weight has accumulated, and I wanted to knock it off.
Cool. Yeah. All right. No, I want to get into each of those because listeners are like, ooh, thyroid, let's talk that. Oh, you did P90X, and what are you talking about following the details and doing the science? So, you and I know what it is, but let's walk through one at a time. We've talked in the past, and I know I think you've done Weight Watchers, Nutrisystem, all of that in the past. Yes. When was that? And then from there to now, how did you get where you are today?
Weight Watchers was probably has been a part of my life. I've never been grossly overweight though. but like everybody, you're always, especially women, we want to be thin and lean. And I always thought Weight Watchers was very healthy, but I also learned there's ways to get around that. And I'm tired of I didn't like the whole point system and doing all that. And I've tried to educate myself on being healthy. I want to be my healthiest as I age. And I've actually been counting macros for a few years now. So I know how to do that, and I kind of liked it. But like all people, it's like I feel like I know how to do it and what I'm supposed to be doing, but it was still the weight gain was still getting away from me.
Okay.
And I don't want to throw the thyroid out again, but with the change in thyroid medicines, and I've used macro factor, I was just seeing my expenditure go crashing down.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was eating 1,900 calories a year ago and biking and doing things. I was lifting weights a year ago, but maybe not as consistently or following a plan as well as I am now. And I can't eat 1,900 calories
Mm-hmm.
anymore without gaining a lot of weight. And I just watched that expenditure on macro factor coming down and watched my weight going up. And it's like things are changing and I need to get a hold of this.
Yeah. So awareness is the first step, right? And that makes me think, when you were tracking macros in the past and you were still gaining weight and that wasn't what you wanted, I assume you weren't using macro factor, or you weren't aware of your expenditure perhaps, such that you were at maintenance or in a surplus without thinking you were, or you thought you were in a deficit and you weren't?
I was not. I was at macros that have worked for me in the past.
Okay.
And I was using a different app. And when I started getting into macro factor and seeing what was going on, you can see just this downward slope.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's mostly related to the thyroid issues. And I know women like to blame thyroid for a lot of things, but I've been hypothyroid since the 90s. So I've been on medication for a long time. And what was working just changed. I started having actually some heart issues. I was having tachycardia with exercise that was beyond what it should have been, and the weight gain, and some hot flashes that were beyond menopause hot flashes. So turns out I was hyperthyroid.
Got it. Okay. I mean, at least you found this out and you went.
Because of the
Yeah.
meds.
Yeah. Because of the meds. And I know, working with other clients on synthetic T3 and other thyroid meds, that there's a lot of tweaking sometimes involved to find the right levels for you. So here's the thing. A lot of people are going to be listening and they're saying, oh, so your expenditure was crashing down. On one hand, you could throw up your hands and say, like, that's the end of it. Like, there's nothing I can do. On the other hand, you can say, you know what? It's great that you have the data to show you your expenditure is crashing. Like, whatever app you use or however you calculate it. I mean, we use MacroFactor because it's the only app that can give you that information. It's not the app's fault, right, that the expenditure is going down, and it's not yours either. It's just the reality of what's happening. So, what did you decide to do at that point? I mean, I know the answer here, Beth, but just for the listener, what did you decide to do once that pattern occurred?
Quit.
Be more specific. You mean quit trying to lose weight?
No, I was doing the trial of Wits and Weights University, and I absolutely love all the information, and I love the way that you're data driven, and I love all of that. But I was like, this is just me crashing my medicines, and I need to get this under control before I can move on to losing weight. And this is not the time to be trying to lose weight. and you were very kind enough to come to my rescue and talk to me very kindly and help me out there.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, because it's just as, not just as, it's almost as frustrating for me to see you go through that and then now be in the position of, we've got to figure something out. And sometimes that decision is, like you decided to do, is let's focus on recovery and a different goal in the short term, or maybe in the medium or long term, while potentially addressing other things, which is a great strategy. I mean, anyone listening, if you've got, and we're going to talk about your physical injuries too, but if you've got things going on that you've got to recover from, why add more stress to the situation with dieting and fat loss? Now, if you were burning 3,000 calories and it was like a moderate deficit you could do easily, that's a different situation, but that wasn't the situation. So, you decided then to come out of fat loss and figure out what to do next, right? And that was potentially build some muscle?
Yes. I did finally find my maintenance in macro factor, and it was much lower than what I would have liked, but it is what it is, and have to deal with that. So we discussed it and decided to do somewhat of a lean build to add in a little bit calories and try and put some muscle on, try and preserve my metabolism, if not maybe give it a little push up. And so this is brand new. I have never tried to, I've always wanted muscle, but I've never tried to purposefully add in calories and put a build on in that way. So it's new.
And is that where, is that because of fear of gaining weight? Is that just because it is new and you're not sure what it's going to come of it?
Yes, it's a fear of gaining weight. You spend your life trying to, I've said that I've never been overweight. This is my highest weight, non-pregnancy weight, that I've ever been. But honestly, I do feel like I have more muscle than the last time that I was here. I have been here before. And it looks different. I got to say, it's not quite as devastating as it has been in the past. And I also know that my metabolism is doing a little better. And I want to just throw one thing out. I'm going to throw out about Wits and Weights. That was very nice. You were on vacation, and I started this whole lean build. And it was just interesting because my expenditure did start going up, but my weight trend started going down. And it was just doing some strange little things there to begin with. And you were on vacation, so I didn't want to bother you on vacation, and I knew you would answer it when you got back. But I reached out to another member. I just got into the build part of Wits and Weight and found someone that had been through this before and looked like they kind of did the same thing. And I won't mention names, but she very generously answered me and reassured me and said, don't be afraid to tweak it a little bit, up your calories just a little bit if you need to. You may need to make a little jump. And it just feels like a family is, I guess, what I'm trying to get at. You were not there. I know you would have been, but you were on vacation, a well-deserved vacation. And I just reached out and I got an answer very quickly and very kindly. And it was great.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to give a shout out to the community. It's a great community. It feels like you get to know people and that they are family.
I love that you said that, because I remember seeing that message come through. I don't know if you can hear my dogs, but we both have dogs. I saw the message come through because I still monitor that stuff even when I'm on vacation, just on the back end. And then I saw someone chime in, and I'm like, this is the power of numbers. Like, obviously I take one vacation a year for a week, and that's when you needed the help. But I'm glad that you saw the power of having others have gone through the same experience. That's why I made this for us, and I say us, myself included, because I like to have others to bounce ideas off and learn from too. Not everybody is, I guess, as public or wants to share in that way, right? That's why there's different ways to do this for people. Some people want to keep things private. But by doing that, you could leverage the learning from someone else. So, yeah, that's great. Thank you for mentioning that. So let's talk about your current situation then right now, because you're also dealing with shoulder issues, right? And you've got an injury, SLAP2 lesion, I think was the specifics, some osteoarthritis, tendinopathy in your rotator cuff. What's going on there?
I don't know what's going on there.
Okay.
I've been very lucky. I haven't had joint issues in the past or any kind of injuries. It was not from strength training. It was from newly being retired and taking up golf. Very dangerous sport. Didn't know it was a dangerous sport.
You'd be surprised, all those sports, yeah.
I've done triathlons, I've done horseback riding, and I get injured playing golf. So anyway, it's just a nagging injury, and my orthopedic surgeon has suggested not doing any kind of overhead presses, not doing any lat pulls. I have not been in physical therapy, although I'm exploring that right now, because I want to get back to doing overhead presses and whatever. And it's not a severe pain, but it's not very hard to get it hurting. It'll be good for a week, and then I can reach the wrong way and something happens. So every time I look at different exercise plans, and we're going to talk about that perhaps later or perhaps now, I don't know. Everything includes doing some lat pull downs or doing some overhead press. Overhead press is a normal part of compound exercise that you expect to do. I've also changed my doing a bench press. I do a bench press, but I have started doing it on a Smith machine, and I set the pins where my elbows can't come down further than my chest. So
partial ROM or a Spotto press, kind of a few inches high.
Just a few inches high, so that because it does hurt to come down. And it also affects this actually happened back early September. And it's been going on and off since then. But it's affected being able to do a squat. My arm does not feel comfortable being pulled back in that kind of position. And so I've been doing leg presses and just recently started doing a hack squat because I can do those easily. So I've moved more towards machines. I was previously doing a lot with the barbell, but I'm not doing very much with the barbell anymore.
Let's talk through this now, because I have personal experience with this myself, having had rotator cuff surgery, and also literally just went to my surgeon yesterday just to relate to your story, and found I have, because of my anatomy, my supraspinatus, which is the top part of the rotator cuff tendon, is much more prone to friction from I don't know if it's like the clavicle or the scapula that hits it. And he's like, yep, so you might have this your whole life, where there's just a chance that you're going to tear your tendon. I'm like, oh, that's great. So first of all, there is a great physical therapist I know who's a barbell trainer. His name is John Patrizzo. Shout out to him. He was on the show a long time ago. He and I chat occasionally. He will do some coaching for me with regards to this. So if you ever want a connection, I know he'll do a free Zoom call just to talk to you about it and give you some suggestions. But as far as a few things, a squat, totally understand what you mean. Do you have access to a safety bar?
I do. I've never used it, but I do.
That will solve the problem for that. Then you could squat normally for the rest of your life, because your hands will be in front of you, neutral position, no big deal. You don't have to extend your shoulder. So
Okay.
that's check. Okay, now you can squat.
Okay. I
Which
will
is
try
great.
it next time.
Yeah. Safety bar. And anybody listening, that would be the one with the big yoke on it. It has some handles that stick in front. A little bit of a cambered bar. What's that?
Are they heavier than the traditional bar?
Usually, like mine is 65, but it depends on the specific one. There's also different brands, like the Kabuki Transformer bar is another one where it's actually got adjustable angles and stuff to it. Yeah, so just check it out. Maybe there's a what they would call a woman's version, which I know is like insulting these days, but there's might be a woman's version that's lighter, kind of like a lighter barbell.
Okay.
Yeah. And then for the pressing, I'm definitely not against, like, machines have their place for sure and can be a huge tool. With pressing, I think you said you could do incline, right? Incline pressing?
I was not told no. I actually have an appointment with my surgeon after this afternoon. So
cool. Okay. Well, because what comes to mind is there's grip. So neutral grips, and I know you're doing some of this. There's grip, there's changing the range of motion. And so even if you do an incline dumbbell press or even a barbell press, you could do a very narrow grip or a neutral grip with the dumbbells. And a lot of people don't think about that. They're like, I'm just going to press them. Just rotate into a neutral grip and try that out. Do it as long as you feel no pain. Because correct me if I'm wrong, when you tweak it because you're doing the wrong thing, it happens pretty quickly, right?
It does. And I was told not to do overhead presses, that it would impinge on the tendon. Yeah. However, I don't feel any pain with doing overhead presses. And that's one of the things I'm going to talk to him about. What hurts me more is internal rotation, like taking a shirt off or reaching back.
Yep. Internal, like as if you pulled your hand behind your back and tried to clamp it to your back, right? Yeah. Yes. Internal rotation. Yep.
That's what really bothers me.
Okay. One of the best stretches for that is to lay on the ground on your back, put your arm, put your arm at 90 degrees, and then just push your forearm forward down to the ground. Okay. That's a great stretch for that. It's also why you can't squat. That's why you have discomfort squatting, is the internal rotation. Right. Right. Well, that's yeah. Well, that's more external rotation, but still same idea. But anyway, but you're going to talk to him, and then we can connect you with John if you need to. The point is, for the pressing, as long as you don't feel pain, and pain includes both acute pain in the moment and also after you've done a few sets, or if you've done a few more training sessions with that movement over the next couple of weeks, that it doesn't start to accumulate. You just want to stay far away from that so you don't get inflammation. You don't jack up the inflammation. So partial ROM, like you're doing with the Smith, is great. You can do that with a traditional bar where you literally just stop manually 2 inches above. That's called a Spotto press. You could put pins. You could also do a very close grip, kind of like people do for close grip bench, and just make that your normal bench. Tuck your elbows in, and you'll notice that should feel a lot different because your shoulders are hardly getting involved. Gotcha. Tuck them in. Other than that, you can get crazy with like multi-bars and lots of other things. But if you just find like 3 or 4 substitutions and just stick with those, it should work. We can go over more specifics outside of this call if you want. Like, what can I do for this? What can I do for this? I can give you options. That would be awesome. Yeah. So the good thing is you continue to train. Like, a lot of people would just give up, and you're continuing to train. I actually love it. You love it. Yeah, because you get the result. That's great. I just feel so good when I come out. Yeah. It's kind of a non-negotiable. Good. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, it's to the gym. Yeah. It needs to be it needs to be a non-negotiable. It's like eating protein. It's got to be a non-negotiable. And you actually shared some data with me. You shared a lot of data, which I love data. And it's sorry. No, it's great. I mean, because a lot of it was like yesterday, and I haven't even had time to process all of it. But what I did notice, a few things. One is your body fat has gone down, and you've gained lean mass, which is body recomposition. And you kind of alluded to that earlier when you said you were uncomfortable gaining weight. And then you said, but the sky's not falling. In fact, maybe that's given you the stimulus and the growth anabolic environment you needed all these years, potentially. What do you think about that? That's pretty cool. Been lifting weights. Right. I'm not new to lifting weights, but I'm definitely putting muscle on.
And the whole reason we're doing this podcast is doing the protein challenge. So I'm getting lots of good protein and extra calories, about 100 extra calories over what my expenditure is. And it's definitely seems to be working.
Tell us more. When you say seems to be working, let's get into some specifics.
I had not been changing a lot with strength grains and getting PRs, and I'm not making amazing changes in lifts, but it's going up steadily. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to a new level with the lifts, and I have good energy to do it. I'm in the gym for an hour and 15 minutes, and feeling good about that. But I mean, I can see the muscle. And I'm looking forward to down the line when I take off some fat and and can actually see it a little more. But I'm definitely I'm feeling stronger. I can see the muscle, and it's all good.
Yeah,
it's good.
Not only is it good, it's phenomenal. Let me tell you why, because you did send me your data. I'm looking at it right now. You went from a body weight of 142 with 91 pounds of lean mass to 145 at 95 pounds. And I'm just rounding numbers. Basically, you gained like almost pure muscle, effectively is what you did, which is like 80% of the. Now, just to put it in perspective, we know some of that's lean mass, which includes muscle, bone, water, and organs. So the other thing that changes is water, and everybody gains a little bit of fluid when they start gaining from carbs and such. But honestly, to gain that much in terms of lean mass, because of your measurements, the way we do it here, we use the Navy formula and all that, is phenomenal. Like that tells me something. There's almost like a newbie gains that you're getting, even though you have lifted your whole life, that you didn't get to experience until now, which is crazy. Or not crazy. It's wonderful. I mean, you're 68, and again, people are hearing this like, whoa, you could still build muscle at 68. You could do it at 78, 88, 98, honestly. It's great. I'm just saying it's amazing. Yeah.
And I mean, I have to be honest, I love being able to be strong. It's, we've talked about, I'm training for a bike vacation, and, I'm able to, lift my bike easily in and out of the truck and putting it up on the wall. And, we were over at a friend's house, and she asked me to go get my husband to carry in a case of water. And I'm like, well, I'll go get it. No. You don't need to be doing that. It's like, it's not anything. I can do that.
Love it.
And I love it. I like being strong. I want to stay strong. My mother lived to be 98. So I hope, I'm hoping up carrying in the case of water when I'm 98. Maybe not. I don't know.
No,
maybe
you should be able to. You should be able to. I mean, I've talked to bodybuilders in their 80s who you're like, they're like 55, right? No, they're not.
I like being strong. It's, my husband is just like, can you pick up that end of the couch? My daughter recently moved, and we have a sleeper sofa, and it's like, I got it. I'm okay. Picking it up and go. And it's a good feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. No, I'm letting you speak, but it's a good feeling. I mean, when people are thinking, why do I do this? Is there something so now it's a good feeling. It feels great to be strong. That alone probably motivates you, but is there anything along the line that you've actively sought to get better at, or you've done this for a reason, let's say?
Just want to live a long, strong life. I just want to, my husband and I like active vacations. We're usually biking and hiking, and I don't know if I would know what to do just to sit on the beach all day. Mm-hmm. Not that I don't like to do that. I do, but I like being able to do other things too.
That's great.
I like being active. I don't want to sit around for my life. And
yeah. And we talk about, it's funny because some people put themselves in a box with these things, like when it comes to strength, physique development, whatever, where they're almost focused too much on the process. And I say that in a way, what I mean by that is they're focused too much on I have to do protein, I have to have calories, I have to lift weights, as opposed to leaning into that bigger picture of how it fits your life. And early on when you joined, I remember you talking about biking, and sometimes people think, oh, we're the no cardio people, right? Like we talk about lifting and walking and maybe sprinting, but we're not about endurance athletics. But for you, that is something you enjoy, and it's part of your activity. It's a sport that you lean into, and it helps you thrive and live your active life. So the strength training and the diet and everything supports it. Is from my perspective. So what are your thoughts on that in general? Like, why do you love to bike? How does this help with your biking and so on?
Oh, it absolutely helps with the biking. Actually went out. I'm a fair weather biker. I like a beautiful day and being out on my bike, and it's it's good for the mind. It just makes you feel good to be out on a beautiful day and to be doing something physical. And the strength, we went out the other day, and I live in Kentucky. It's been a little windy and weather here, if you ever catch the news. And we went out the other day, and it was 18, 19-mile-an-hour winds with gusts up to 35 or 40. And I'm like, this is crazy. We don't need to be out here. But we decided to go. We just did 11 miles, which is not going that far. And I felt good. I had the strength to do it. We've got lots of hills and wind, and um, my legs are just a lot stronger.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually could make it enjoyable on a not so great day, but um, the strength is definitely helpful on the bike. Um,
Yep. Yep.
if it,
That's what
if
I hear. Yeah.
if it was just a little flat road and we're just going slow and toddling around, it wouldn't matter that much. But we've got a lot of hills, and we are trying to do some distance. We'll be building up here. Right now, we're just doing, my longest ride is about 20 miles, but we'll be working up to 30 or 40 probably is all we will. But that's still a couple hours out riding,
Yeah.
2 hours.
Yeah. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. We hear time and again, dealing with athletes or people who have a sport, that strength is the foundation, such that it's an amplifier for everything else. You know, it makes everything else easier. And so when you talk about pumping your legs in a concentric fashion over and over thousands of times, it makes sense that if you can produce more force than the next person who weighs the same, that you'll have an easier time of it, right? Just to put it in pure math.
Yes, just bringing
Yeah.
out the engineer in you.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah. No, it's important to know
absolutely.
though. Yeah.
But it also prevents injury. Uh,
That is true. Yeah.
Less likely to get injured, whether it's biking or doing anything else. Um,
100%.
but I'm thinking in the biking world, it's good to have that muscle strength.
Yep. And you'll find this with sports, with BJJ, with, um, I have a client who's a competitive rifle shooter, pretty
Oh wow!
cool. And for the first few months we worked together, she was doing kind of a group class because we didn't want to touch her training. We wanted to focus on diet first. She had quite a bit of weight to lose, let's say plus 300 pounds. And we then recently switched her to lifting more like you're doing, right? Focused on strength, focused on progression. And she's like, wow, this is just making the sport, my rifle sport, so much easier all of a sudden within weeks. And I think it's again, another thing is the things you want to do in your life, whether it's biking or a sport or soccer or even walking, walking upstairs, depending if you're 85 and frail and you've never lifted and then you start lifting, you can walk upstairs. That's an amazing life transformation for someone. So you're very inspiring, Beth, because people are hearing this and hopefully think, wow, I can, age is not a factor, honestly, if you do this.
It's really not. I mean, I do have the shoulder ache, and I've never had that before, but it's okay. Just work around it, and not that big a deal. But I don't want to say that I don't feel that different than when I was 40, but I really don't. I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing that I can't. There's nothing I can't do if
Yeah.
I want to. And it's great.
So I know you're always focused on what to do next and how to continue optimizing, refining. You and I talked back and forth before this recording about your lifting, your workouts, a little bit about your nutrition in your next phase. Where do you feel like you need the most help at the moment? What's the number one thing you're focused on that you have questions on?
Um, my biggest questions are going to be on just balancing everything, uh, because it's very hard. I am taking a total rest day today. I biked over the weekend. I lifted weights yesterday. Um, Thyroid's been cut a little bit, so it takes me a little time to adjust to those, and tired, and learning to take a rest day. Um, and maybe I talked to you a little bit about maybe cutting. I hate to cut back on the strength training. I don't really want to cut back. I want to be more efficient with it so that I can fit everything in and have the energy to do everything. So I'm looking for balance and scheduling it all, getting it all in, but also getting the rest I need to do it.
Okay.
Um,
What tell me, let's break down the big blocks of time throughout your week. So start with training. How many days and how long are your sessions?
Lifting weights, they're usually between an hour and 15 minutes.
Okay.
And that includes 5 minutes on the treadmill. And I usually do a little bit. The first set of exercises, I usually do warm ups for whatever I'm lifting. If it's leg press, I'll do warm up sets, is my warm ups. I don't do a lot of stretching.
Okay.
But
So a little over an hour. That's totally reasonable. Most people train between an hour and a half. If you're doing 4 days, right? At the moment?
I'm doing
Oh, you're
3 days.
doing three. Okay.
However, I could
Yeah.
add in a fourth day and just do it at home with dumbbells.
Oh wait, we're trying to take stuff away here, Beth, right?
I know, and
So hold on.
that's my problem. I just go,
I get it. We
let's
want
do
to do
more.
it all. We want to do it all. Okay. So you've got 3 sessions a week. Those are on weekdays.
Those are on weekdays. I go Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Could you do one on the weekend? How would that work with your schedule?
I could.
And I only bring that up as a lot of people don't even think about it. They're like, oh, wait a minute. I can make one of my training days a Saturday or Sunday, and that solves a whole bunch of issues for some people. Some others have like tons going on the weekend and it doesn't work.
But I like there's no reason why I can't do it on the weekend.
Yeah. Just an option. It's an option. Like, so I've worked with folks, and myself included, who've had, let's say, 4 day or even 5 day programs. And you always think Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, but nothing prevents you from doing like Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Or, like if you're doing a 5 day program, you can make Tuesday and Wednesday your days off. You know what I mean? So that's one option. So you've got your training blocks, and then those are at a gym. So it's an hour 15 plus commute,
Yes,
which is
but
like 15
10
each way or
minutes.
something. Okay.
It's 10 minutes. It's nowhere. It's
All right.
fine.
So it's almost 2 hours, and then you got your shower and your prep, your bag, gym bag, and all that. So almost 2 hours on those 3 days. What's the next big block that you have throughout your week where you're doing it regularly and it takes time?
So Tuesday nights, usually, we go to a track. It's a motor speedway track that's open. So we have no cars to worry about. That's open to bikers and runners. And my husband loves to do that. So we go on Tuesday nights to do that. We're not going tonight because we're getting weather again tonight. And that's usually a big block of time. We try and get in about 30 miles, which is a good 2 hours. And it's about a 40-minute back and forth. So it's about an hour and a half of commute also.
Okay. But is that a non-negotiable right there? That one?
That's pretty non-negotiable.
Okay. So it's in there. All right. Because you're talking about balance, and I mean it is a function of priorities, and not only priorities, but is there anything you can eliminate? That's like the bottom of the list where I go, can you eliminate? Can you delegate? Can you automate? And then the other stuff just stays like it is today because it's optimal. Like your training is probably the only way you could save time potentially is have a full gym at home. I don't know if that's even an option to have like a barbell gym with some machines and stuff at home.
I don't have a barbell. I do have power blocks that go up much higher than I will ever use, and a bench.
Yeah, you said that. That's right. So you could take one of your, instead of adding a fourth day, take one of your 3 days and make them
A
at
barbell.
home. And so that would save you what, 30 minutes from
Yeah,
commute? Okay.
yeah. I have time. It's more energy, is what
Okay.
I'm thinking, to be honest.
Okay. So you're training, you train Monday, Wednesday, Friday with the Tuesday biking.
Yes. And then I've got to get in a couple more days of biking for sure. This isn't a bike race that I'm training for, it's a vacation, but it still will be
You're
20,
challenging yourself. I get it.
20 or 30 miles of biking in the mountains.
Okay, this
Four
is
or
where
5
I'm
days.
thinking. So one of two options that come to mind. One is potentially um, either cutting out a lifting session altogether. And I always hate to say that, but if it's short term, because when is your vacation?
September. We've got a long
Six,
time
seven,
to
eight.
go.
Okay, you've got 4 months. So I wouldn't do that just yet. That's one option. The second option would be you could split your training into 4 or 5 much shorter days. Since time isn't the problem, recovery is the issue. Some people recover better with smaller sessions, right? If you're doing, are you
Right.
doing? I know you sent me your workout, but it's is it like a push pull legs or is it a full body?
It's more full body.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
is what I had been doing. And then I started playing with it this past week, and I'm not sure I'm happy with where it's at. So we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, because you could do a 4 day where the sessions are like a half hour and you do 3 lifts, something like that. That's the second option. The third option is just moving the days around to make it work better because the biking day is smack dab between 2 training days. And
Right.
that's where I would rather almost like if you were training Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and could put the biking day wherever you want, the long one, I'd put it on Saturday. So since you don't have that situation, it's like, what if Tuesday is like your Saturday? And then you would do your training week would be Thursday, Saturday, Monday, or whatever. You could do the math, but you know what I mean. So
Right. Right.
you'd have Tuesday and Wednesday would be off.
So take a rest
So
day on Wednesday.
yeah, and just shift it. So it's like Monday, Thursday, Saturday, something like that. You know what I mean? Or
Right.
you can flip it around in your head, do Thursday, Saturday, Monday, but you know what? Same idea. What about the other days? What kind of activity are you doing?
Um, I am walking is up around 9,000. I think it was averaged 8,800 for the week. And I love to get out and walk. I've got the dogs to walk, and um, usually in the summertime that picks up too a little bit. I know last summer I was doing more around 11,000.
Well, that's
Uh,
okay. That's reasonable, Beth. So 8,000. It's not even taxing. It's fine. How's your sleep?
Sleep is good.
Sleep is
Sleep
good.
is good.
Stress.
Stress is pretty good. Can't
Okay, so
complain.
when you then let's get deeper then. When you talk about energy, when is it worse during the week and what does it feel like?
Um, I I guess I was exhausted last night and today, and so it's like today is just an enforced rest day. I'm not even doing a lot of walking today because we had a big bike ride on Sunday, um, and also biked on Saturday, but it was that short, windy one. But that was still a hard bike ride, even though it was short. And then lifted weights yesterday, and yesterday afternoon I was beat. And I should be. I mean, I don't know that anything is happening. It's just that I just want to make sure that I get like a couple of rest days, which means I'm going to be biking on days that I'm lifting too.
Yeah, and
In
that's
order.
not the worst thing in the world. It's just if you're doing full body, that's where the challenge could be. So that's where I was going to go next with you, Beth, is the
And I
split.
like,
The split makes even more sense where you have two light upper body days and then two lower bodies. And the lower bodies are very far removed from your biking.
and I kind of like that.
Okay.
I like a
Yep.
little bit shorter, maybe a little bit shorter lifting days.
Yeah, because if you're okay with the commute time and all that, it's not a big deal. Some people like to go to the gym almost every day. So I think that would work for you. It's like just a typical 4 day split where your heavy biking day comes after potentially an upper body day, and then you get a rest day after that, and then a lower, then an upper, then a lower, meaning wait, upper or no, then lower, upper, lower. I have to figure that out. But yeah, there's a way to do that to make it work.
Okay.
We'll get into specifics. Yeah, that would work. And then you could just follow a traditional kind of like you're training now. Pretty much any 4-day split would work. And you might just have to cut off some movements if it's too much and then substitute the movements for your shoulder. That's what I would do.
Okay.
And I know you use Boost Camp, right?
I do.
So I often recommend programs in there from other coaches for people because I'm just like, pick the best program for you right now. I follow my own and others, and you can kind of mix around when you need to, but maybe filter through there on the different things, say 4-day and this and that, and then or I can find one for you as well. I'm pretty familiar with them by now. Or you can just use one of my 4 days in the Physique University as well. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Anything else that we didn't cover so far?
I don't think so. I think we've covered it. The only thing maybe is doing periodization that at some point in time here, I'll go into
Loss phase.
fat and go into a fat loss phase.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually kind of looking forward to doing this and think about doing this again. Doing a building phase here.
Get addicted to it in a way, right?
Doing a little
fun.
lose, and then get back into a building phase, and then maybe get into a maintenance phase. I don't know. We'll have to talk and figure that all out. But
we'll talk. I mean, the one piece of advice on fat loss is just pick a quiet time of year. Like don't pick it when you'd want to eat all the foods, right? Like holidays. Be careful.
Gotcha. That's probably the good building phase, I would guess.
Exactly.
Thanksgiving and Christmas, is that build time?
Exactly. It is. It's how you line it up. It works out really well. All right. So I guess my last question or two here. One is if let's say there's really anybody listening, but say older adults who might be hesitant to prioritize building muscle. Yeah, maybe they have injuries or medical conditions like you're facing a bit. Maybe they don't. Maybe it's just a hesitation like you had. What advice would you give them based on your experience?
To do it. Jump on in there. Get started. Go to the gym. Start lifting. My biggest recommendation, seeing my friends that don't lift and whatever, is to take it slow. You don't have to go in and lift 100 pounds to start with on the barbell. You go in and lift that 5 or 10 pound dumbbell, whatever you can do, and build from there. It's not a sprint. It's just take your time and just start.
Just start. Take your time. Be patient.
It's a wonderful feeling.
It's a wonderful feeling. Yeah, that definitely leaned into that. There is a lot of misinformation or misunderstanding from people who don't lift. I see it as well. My parents live in the villages. They're, people there in the 70s, 80s, 90s. And it's these ideas about I'm going to get hurt or that's too heavy or my doctor said not to do this or blah, blah, blah. Like you've heard it all. And it's never too late to start. So
can I throw one thing?
Please do.
That was an inspiration and I found was absolutely hilarious. My mother lived to be 98 and she was good most of the time. She lived in a house for a long time with steps. And we were like, do you need to get out of the house? She goes, no, that's my exercise. That keeps me going. If I have to go up the steps to go to bed, then that keeps me going. But she moved to Florida eventually. And I was going down to visit her one time and I hadn't seen her in several months. And I said, well, do you want to do lunch? I'll be there by lunchtime. And she goes, I would love to do lunch, but it's going to have to be after 1:00 because I'm going to be in the gym. And I was like, I think she was about 94 then. I was like, okay, that's great.
That is awesome. I love it.
And she did not lift weights all her life, but she did walk and she did stay active in her own way. But she had at 94, she had her personal trainer and I'm peeking in the window and she's got a dumbbell in her hand and she was going to town. And I was like, yes, I like it.
Yes. No excuses, people. If you're listening,
I'll wait for lunch.
That's so inspirational. Yeah. Please do, guys. I mean, the older I get, the more I see it with that generation, and I don't want to be there. And heck, I even have shoulder issues at the young age of my 40s or whatever. It happens to all of us. So what? You keep training, you find a way, you keep moving, keep learning. So if you're listening and Beth's journey has sparked something in you, which I hope it has, and you want to take a smarter approach which is just getting started. Like she just said, getting started, working around whatever limitations you have. We're all different. We all have things. It's no reason not to do it. Maybe you're navigating the hormonal changes. Maybe you're tired of the social media craziness and misinformation. Then try out Physique University, like jump in. There's a free trial. You can say hi to Beth. You can see what's going on. We do challenges all the time. She actually won our protein challenge, which is one of the reasons. Her reward is getting grilled on a podcast, you see? So yeah, just check it out. I'm not going to pitch it any more than that. We'll include the link in the show notes. But Beth, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Thank you for sharing the experience. People need to hear this because it's very empowering. So thank you.
Thank you for giving me the chance. Appreciate it.